The sun may kill us all, but it will take a long time to happen. It's a lot more likely that we will be killed, or at least severely injured, by an event known as a supervolcanic eruption. A new study suggests that we are overdue for one. It could happen at any moment, and if it does, scientists have no idea how to stop it. So what is a supervolcano, and why should you care? A supervolcano is a type of volcano that, when it erupts, can eject more than 1,000 cubic kilometers of material in a single blast. To put that into perspective, Mount St. Helens in Washington state ejected about 32 million cubic meters of material during its 1980 eruption. It's considered a major eruption. But the biggest eruption in recorded history, Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines, ejected about 5 billion cubic meters of material, and only 847 people lost their lives. By contrast, a supervolcanic eruption is so large that it creates a lake of magma on the surface of the Earth, covering an area of at least 650 square kilometers. In other words, this isn't something you need to worry about today. There are 7 known supervolcanoes on the planet, and none of them seem to be ready to blow anytime soon, except maybe Yellowstone National Park's supervolcano. The thing is, we don't know exactly what causes these eruptions, how often they happen, or even how to predict them. Yellowstone National Park's supervolcano is about 700 kilometers long and 450 kilometers wide. That's the size of Connecticut and Rhode Island combined. The last time it erupted was 640,000 years ago. This was a huge explosion that covered much of North America with ash, including what is now Mexico, Texas, New Mexico, and Colorado. The most recent eruption before that happened about 1.3 million years ago. But the problem is that we can't tell whether the next eruption is going to follow the same pattern as the previous two. And this makes sense because not all volcanoes erupt the same way every time. Sometimes they erupt explosively, sometimes they erupt gently, and sometimes they do a little of both. We don't know what the Yellowstone supervolcano will do when it blows again, and we won't until it happens. Some researchers say it's overdue because more than 600,000 years have passed since its last major eruption. Others say it's not because major eruptions can occur once every several million years. Still others say it's not overdue at all because there's no link between the ages of past eruptions. The problem is, we just don't have enough data to determine how likely another super eruption is right now. This means that scientists aren't sure whether we should be worried or not. A new study suggests that we should be very worried because it seems like the odds of a super eruption occurring in any given year are increasing, and they might be increasing quickly. The authors of the study, which was published in the journal Quaternary Science Reviews, looked at the history of massive eruptions around the world to try to establish whether the intervals between them tend to get shorter or longer over time. In other words, is it possible that the average time between super eruptions is decreasing? To do this, they collected data from 95 volcanic regions and identified the dates of their largest eruptions over the past 10 million years. Then they analyzed the intervals between the eruptions to see if there was a trend toward shorter times between them. They found that the duration between the largest eruptions has been shortening over the past 2 million years. According to lead author Dr. Emily Bacon of the University of Cambridge, the likelihood of a super eruption is getting greater. She told Live Science, "We found evidence of an acceleration in the rate of large eruptions in the past 200,000 years. This evidence comes from the fact that the intervals between consecutive large eruptions are getting shorter." Bacon and her colleagues didn't stop there, though. They also wanted to find out if there was any link between the occurrence of large eruptions and the age of the region where the eruptions took place. In other words, does a supervolcano become more active as it gets older? Their analysis showed that the likelihood of an eruption doesn't increase with the age of the volcanic region, at least in the past 2 million years. So while it does seem as though we're overdue for a super eruption, it's not because Yellowstone is getting older. Instead, it might have to do with the location of the hotspot under the volcano. You see, the Yellowstone supervolcano is located above a so-called hotspot, which is an unusually warm area in the Earth's mantle. This is the source of the magma that feeds the supervolcano. The problem is that these hotspots don't stay put. They move around very slowly, like several centimeters per year, and we think that the Yellowstone hotspot is moving too. This could explain why the time between eruptions is getting shorter. As the hotspot moves, it changes the pressure and temperature conditions beneath the volcano, making it more unstable. Another possibility is that the hotspot is interacting with water in the crust, either from ancient lakes or from the ice that's accumulated in the area during the most recent ice age. Either way, the result is more volatile magma. And here's the thing, the magma chambers beneath Yellowstone are already full. If the magma can't escape, it'll keep building up pressure until something gives. This could potentially lead to a massive eruption. There's still a lot that scientists don't understand about how hotspots work, or why they seem to be moving faster in some places than others. But if we can figure it out, it might help us better predict the behavior of other supervolcanoes. There are plenty of other supervolcanoes that could erupt at any time and cause major damage. One of the most dangerous is the Taupo volcanic zone in New Zealand. About 26,500 people live within 30 kilometers of this zone. Most of them are clustered around the town of Taupo, which is home to about 22,000 people. If the zone were to erupt violently, it would destroy everything nearby and send deadly pyroclastic flows surging across the North Island. Another supervolcano that scientists are keeping an eye on is Campi Flegrei near Naples, Italy. More than 3 million people live within 30 kilometers of this volcano, which has the potential to destroy entire cities like Naples and even affect the climate around the world. Scientists have been monitoring it closely for decades because it's been showing signs of unrest. Since 1984, the caldera has been inflating at an alarming rate, rising by almost 10 meters in some places. Researchers believe this could be a sign that magma is rising from deep within the Earth's mantle. If this is true, the magma could eventually reach the surface and trigger a devastating eruption that wipes out everything nearby. Something similar happened in 1980 when Mount St. Helens blew up. The town of Cougar, which was close to the volcano, was completely destroyed. So far, the inflation hasn't caused any major problems, but if it continues, Campi Flegrei could erupt and take part of Italy with it. This is just a preview of what's to come. Scientists expect that the next few 100,000 years will be marked by increasingly frequent and intense volcanic activity. This is because the Earth's internal engine, which drives plate tectonics, is speeding up. It's likely that we will see many more super eruptions in the future. And the truth is, we don't really know how to prevent them. One of the most promising ideas involves pumping water into a volcano to solidify the magma and lower the pressure below the surface. This technique has been tested successfully in places like Mount Ibu in Indonesia. But it's not without risks. If the water reaches a magma chamber, it can cause an explosive eruption. For this reason, scientists are hesitant to use it. Until we figure out how to prevent super eruptions, our best strategy is to monitor volcanoes and make sure that people living nearby are prepared to evacuate quickly. At the end of the day, though, there's not much we can do if one of them blows. Just hope that your city isn't too close to one. Now you need to watch how do volcanoes erupt, or have a look at when worlds collide. Giant asteroid heading directly for Earth.